Welcome to Factoring Trinomial Review. We are going to be factoring trinomials and binomials. So let's take a look at example 1. Example 1, you have n cubed minus 8n squared minus 20n. This is a trinomial, and the reason you know it's a trinomial is because you have three terms, separated by a plus or a minus. 1, 2, 3. Your first step in factoring should always be to factor out your greatest common factor. What do these three guys have in common? They have an n in common, so you're going to factor out that n. When you are factoring it out, that means you are dividing every one of those terms by n. So when you factor out your n, what do you have left? N squared minus 8n minus 20. You still have your three terms. This is your greatest common factor. This guy is just going to tag along as you are trying to break this down, okay? So we're going to bring down that n. We're going to break this from three terms to two terms. So here are your two sets of parentheses. Now if you take a look, you have a negative 20. What two numbers that you are looking for to multiply to give you a negative 20, but you want it to be a negative 8n. Since it's a negative 20, you are going to want to subtract to give you negative 8n. Now, if you do not know your multiplications well, start off at 1. 1 times what number is 20? Well, 1 times 20. Do these two subtract to give you negative 8? No. Okay? Next number is 2. You can also go 20 divided by 2 leaves you 10 because multiplications and divisions are inverses of each other. Do these two subtract to give you negative 8? And the answer is yes. For it to be negative 8, I want the 10 to be a negative and the 2 to be a positive. What is 2 times negative 10? Negative 20. What is 2 minus 10? Negative 8. So you have two numbers here that serves two purposes. They multiply to give you your last term, and they're going to subtract to give you your middle terms. Okay? Now you can kind of fill in this blank. What are some factors of n squared? N and n. What are those two numbers that multiply to give you negative 20 and is going to subtract to give you negative 8? Plus 2, negative 10. Okay? So you got n to the first, n to the first, n to the first. N times n gives you n cubed. And there you have your solution for example 1. In example 2, the question is 4k squared minus 4k minus 224. Okay? You have three terms as well here. 1, 2, 3. Find your greatest common factor first. What do these three guys have in common? They have a 4, so I'm going to factor out my 4. That means you're dividing each of these terms by 4. 4k squared divided by 4 leaves you k squared. Negative 4k divided by 4 leaves you k. Negative 224 divided by 4 leaves you, and I'm going to use my calculator to make sure my math is correct, minus 56. Okay, so you have taken 4 away. That means you have to divide each term by 4. You got three terms here, 1, 2, 3. Notice your A is a 1. This is your A, this is your B, and this is your C. And there's an understood 1 in front of every one of these terms. All right, so I'm going to bring down my 4, draw two sets of parentheses. What two numbers multiply to give you negative 56? And is going to subtract to give you negative 1k. You do not have to write that 1. It's understood. And you can start doing what I did before. 1 and 56, 2 and, let me see, 56 divided by 2 leaves you 28. Now, if you know your multiplication well, you can probably just go down to 7 and 8, because these guys did not subtract to give you 1, but 7 and 8 does. So, what two numbers multiply to give you negative 56, and it's going to subtract to give you negative 1? Well, negative 8 and positive 7, okay? You can use that to help you here. What are some factors of k squared? K and k. What two numbers multiply to give you a 7 and to give you negative 56? Positive 7, negative 8. And there's your solution. 4 times k is 4k squared. And positive 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. Going to go 4 times 7 times negative 8, which is negative 24. Example 2. Example 3. You have 2n to the 4th minus 18n squared. This is a binomial. And how do you know it's a binomial? It has two terms. 1, 2, separated by plus or minus. Find your greatest common factor. What do these two have in common? 2n squared. So I'm going to divide every one of these terms by 2n squared. What is 2n to the 4th divided by 2n squared? You have left n squared. Negative 18n squared divided by 2n squared leaves you negative 9. Okay? Now if you take a look, n squared is a perfect square, and so is a 9. Because what's the square root of 9? A 3. It is a perfect square. Separated by a minus. This is called a difference of perfect squares. Okay? So, like I said, you bring that down. Another way you can write this is, bring down your 2n squared. N squared minus 2n, or plus, n squared minus 0n, or plus 0n, minus 9. These are exactly the same thing. We just don't express the 0. That's why. All right, draw your two sets of parentheses. What two numbers multiply to give you negative 9 and is going to subtract to give you 0n. And I'm going to write that as a 0 so it doesn't look like an odd. Okay? Well, that would be 3 and 3. Positive, negative, because you want to subtract to give you 0. So now we can go and finish our factoring. What are factors of n squared? N and n. What two numbers multiply to give you negative 9 and it's going to subtract to give you 0? Positive 3 and negative 3. Okay? And there you have it. All right, that's example number 3. Example number 4. You have 35r squared plus 205r plus 150. Okay? Some big numbers, but don't be scared. All right, 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. They all ends in 5s and 0s. Maybe they have a 5 in common, so let's go ahead and factor out a 5. When you factor out a 5, you have 7r squared plus 205 divided by 5 leaves you 41r plus 150 divided by 5 leaves you 30. Okay? I am going to show you 2 different methods for this one. If you know the box and you know that well, please use it. But I'm not going to show you that one. I'm going to show you grouping and bottoms up. All right. First of all, we're going to do the grouping. Okay? Remember, this 5 just carries along. For this purpose, I'm going to come back and grab that 5 later, and I'm not going to worry about it just right now. Okay? All right. So, let's take a look. We got 3 terms right here. To group, you want to write your first term here, leave a blank, and a plus 30. Okay? You're going to multiply your A times your C. What is 7 times 30? 210. Positive 210. Now, what 2 numbers multiply to give you 210, and since it's a plus, is going to add to give you 41R. Okay? Same as before, except your A is not a 1. All right, what are those 2 numbers? You can start off with 1 and 210. 2 and 105. But you know that it's going to be a lot higher than that. So maybe you might want to use your calculator to help you, okay? So you go 210 divided by 3. Do they add up to be 41? No. 210 divided by 4. Not even a whole number. 210 divided by 5. Do they add up to be 41? No, they're 47. 210 divided by 6. Oops. 210 divided by 6. Do they add up to be 41? Well, yeah, those are your 2 numbers, 6 and 35. They both have to be positive because you are running a positive 210 and you're adding. All right. So you basically are going to replace 41 with 6 and 35. So you're going to put plus 6R plus 35R. Okay, so you basically replace that middle term with a 6 and a 35. All right, now you are going to group them together. Group the first two, group the last two. Keep that sign. Look at these two. What do they have in common? They have an R. So you're going to factor out an R, and you'll have 7R plus 6. Keep this sign. What do these two have in common? They have a 5 in common. And when you factor out a 5, you have 7R plus 6. Okay? Are you noticing a pattern how these two are exactly alike? Well, since they're alike, I'm going to group them together. 7R plus 6. Do you see how these two are the leftovers? I'm going to put those together. I'm going to have an R plus 5. And now I'm going to bring down my 5. Okay? So you have, bring down your 5, group these two together, and group the leftover together, and your R's are 1, and there you have your solution. That is called grouping. Now I'm going to show you the method of bottoms up. Okay? So let's take a look. Here's bottoms up method. All right. So what you want to do is, remember this 5. I'm going to deal with that 5 later on. Okay? So you're going to write R squared, okay, plus 41R plus 30. So here we go. All right. So you got two numbers. You're going to multiply 7 times 30, which is 210. And you want two numbers to add up to give you 41R, just like before. What were those two numbers? 6 and 35. Okay? So you're going to write R squared plus 41R plus 30. Correct? Isn't that what you have right here? Okay? So, what were those two numbers? Well, here are the two numbers. You're going to write R and R. What were those two numbers? 6 and 35, and they are both positive. Do you see that right there? I basically just took this away, multiply your A times your C, which is 210, and you found those two numbers to get you your middle term, just like before. Okay? A times your C is 210. Two numbers that multiply give you 210 is going to add to give you 41. All right? So that are the two numbers. Okay? And you didn't even have to write this part. Now, take a look at 7. Bottoms up. Why is it bottoms up? You're going to divide each of these terms by 7. That's your A. This is your A. You're going to divide it by 7. Now let's take a look. Okay? Let's go ahead and simplify. So you have R plus 6 over 7, R plus 5. Now you see how you have a whole number here? This one's not a whole number. Since this is a whole number, we're going to keep it like it is. But since this is not a whole number, it's called bottoms up. Why? Because you take the bottom and you bring it up. So you'll have 7R plus 6, R plus 5. Same answer as your last one. And then I'm going to bring this 5 down. See how you have the same answer? Wait, right here. Okay? See how you have the same answer? This was the grouping, and here's your bottoms up. Same answer. So some students like the bottoms up because they just go 7 times 30. They do this part. They just rewrite it as the A as a 1, and then they come back and deal with the 1 and bring it bottoms up. So there's your example number 4. Doesn't matter which method you use. If you like the box, use the box. But there's always more than one method in factoring. Okay? Example number 5. All right. In example 5, this is what we have. So you got 7x cubed plus 11x squared plus 4x. Okay? 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. Greatest common factor. What do they have in common? They have an x in common, so I'm going to factor out an x. When you factor out your x, you have 7x squared plus 11x plus 4. Okay? Now, notice your A is not a 1. You can use grouping or you can use bottoms up. This one I'm going to do grouping. So let's take a look. I'm going to bring this set x and deal with it later. So if I want to do grouping, I'm going to write 7x squared blank blank plus 4. Okay? And now I'm going to multiply 7 times 4, which is 28. Positive 28. Well, two numbers multiply to give you 28 and is going to add to give you 11x. Well, start using 1 if you don't know where to start. But if you keep going down, you'll see how 4 and 7 multiply to give you 28 and it's going to add to give you 11. So I'm going to replace this with plus 4x plus 11x. Not 11, my apologies. 7x, okay? Let me rewrite that. So 7x squared plus 4x plus 7x plus 4. Group the first two, group the last two, okay? What do these guys have in common? An x, factor out your x, so now you have 7x plus 4. What do these two have in common? A 1, so factor out a 1 and you have 7x plus 4. See how these two are alike? Group them together. See how these two are the leftovers? Group those together. And then you bring down your x. And there you have, that is by grouping. Okay, example number 5. Example number 6. You have 2v squared minus 17v plus 36. Okay, so there's example 6. Greatest common factor. The only thing they have in common is a 1. Okay, so you don't have to factor out greatest common factor. All right, same as before. This time I'm going to do bottoms up. Okay, so you have v square. Okay, think of it. Go 2 plus 36. What is 2 times 36? 2 times 36 is 72. So you want two numbers that multiply to give you 72. Go ahead and draw your two sets of parentheses. Okay, and it's going to add to give you negative 17v. See how they're negative? Start doing your math. Okay, what are those two numbers? Well, 72 divided by 1 does not add up to give you 17. 72 divided by 2, 72 divided by 3, 72 divided, now if you know that's a higher number, then go higher, okay? 72 divided by 5, we know that wasn't going to work. 72 divided by 6, do they add up to give you 17? No. 72 divided by 7, 72 divided by 8, 8 and 9. There you go. They add up to be 17. So 8 and 9. Now, 8 times 9 is 72, but 8 plus 9 is positive. What if I made them both negative? Negative 8 times negative 9 is positive 72. Negative 8 minus 9 is negative 17. Okay? So I'm going to have my v and my v, and I'm going to put minus 8 minus 9. Do you see that? See this number 2 right here? I'm going to divide each one of them by our a. Okay? So what do we have? V negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. See it? Do you see how this is not a whole number? Because this is 4.5. Bring your 2 over. So you have 2v minus 9. And there you have factor using bottoms up. I don't care which method you use, but please master one of your methods. Okay? Example 7. In example 7, we have 3p to the 4th plus 10p cubed plus 7p squared. What do these guys have in common? A p squared. So I'm going to factor out p squared, so I have 3p squared plus 10p plus 7. Okay? I'm going to use the bottoms up method if you prefer that. So you can bring down your p squared, two sets of parentheses, p and p. Okay? Multiply 3 times 7, your a times your c, which is positive 21. two numbers that multiply to give you positive 21, and it's going to add to give you 10p. All right, start doing your numbers, okay? Now, I know 3 and 7. But if you don't know, like I told you, start off at 1. 21 divided by 1, 21 divided by 2. Positive. Positive 3 times positive 7 is positive 21. 3 plus 7 is 10. Plus 3 plus 7, okay? Take your A. Divide each one of those by your A. So now what do you have? P squared. What is 3 divided by 3? 1. Okay? Is this a whole number? No. Move this over. Bottoms up. So you have 3p plus 7. And there you have your solution using bottoms up. Example 8. 5k squared minus k minus 6. Greatest common factor is a 1. Nothing to factor out. I am going to do grouping on this one, okay? 5k squared, blank, blank, negative 6. A times C. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. Two numbers are multiplied to give you negative 30, and it's going to subtract to give you 1k. 5 and 6. Okay. I want a negative. The bigger number goes with the sign, and here's your positive. So plus 5k minus 6k. Remember, I'm just rewriting my middle term, okay? Group the first two, group the last two. What do these two have in common? 5k. When you factor out 5k, what do you have? K plus 1. Keep this sign. Minus. What do these two have in common? A 6. When you factor out a negative 6, what do you have? K. Now be very careful with this. What is negative 6 divided by negative 6? Positive 1. See it? Okay. These guys are alike. Group them together. These guys are the leftovers. Group them together. You're factoring, you're multiplying, and there you have your final solution. Okay? Now, my advice to you, the best way to learn math, the best way to master mathematics is practice, practice, practice. That's what your homework is. That's what your assignments are. You got to think it through. Many different ways to factor. It is problem-solving skills. What is in front of you and what you are going to decide to do. Have a great day.